Hey everybody, welcome to another amazing, actually, a wonderful episode of
The Unbox Boys!
I'm Dave, along with my son, Elias.
Hello.
And our family. We're about to load on in here to the Swagger Wagon to go check out Wonder Woman. It's opening weekend. Expectations? What do you think? Good? Bad?
In between.
Yeah. Not sure.
Yeah, just the track record is a little bit...
DC has let us down a time or two, but hopefully not today. Our expectations are cautiously high. So we'll go check out the movie, and then we'll give you a quick review afterwards.
Yes.
Let's go. Assistant Manager River hooking us up. Nice t-shirt. Are those for sale, or that's theater people only?
I bought it at Fred Meyer.
Oh, really? She's got a classic on there. Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So we got a free movie ticket on my rewards card today. Nice.
Yeah. Free movie ticket. Any popcorn or anything to drink, guys?
Yes. Here's how we do at the theater. See, we bring our own buckets, BYOB, because you get the refill, but you can get the refill before, right? So we could fill up the bucket, and then so we got like 2 popcorns, takes care of everything, right?
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so you saw Wonder Woman.
Yes.
What do you think?
Awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, she's intense.
Really?
Yeah.
So some of the DC movies have let us down in the past? Was this a
No, this
letdown?
one's not going to let you down.
Okay. All right, no spoilers, but did you have like a
No.
favorite part?
Oh my God, she was just intense. I just the
Really?
whole thing.
Was there anything after the credits?
No,
What?
it's not Marvel.
You heard it here first, folks. We are ready for that. And for that. Look at that. Think that'll fit in my garage? It's kind of big. Other sweet posters down the hallway here. Justice League, Thor, Star Wars. Dude, are you ready? Get quiet in here. Silence your cell phone. Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, so we just got back from seeing Wonder Woman, and we did not stick around to the end of the credits.
Was there something?
Well, Nora at the theater said there was not, so we took her word for it. When I first see a film, I am always, my wife and everybody can tell you this, I'm always overly critical. In fact, I don't like most films that I see the first time I see them. And then I see them another time or two, and maybe they grow on me a little bit. So that may happen with this one, because there were certain things that I really loved about this movie, and other things that, when compared with other things, I thought, I didn't really care for that.
Well, I thought it was actually a really good movie.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, compared to the past DC movies.
Let's talk about Wonder Woman now.
Yeah, sorry.
So first, a lot of it, they really gave a lot of the storyline, or at least maybe the first half of the film storyline, in the trailers. What you saw in the movie trailers for it, that was pretty much kind of how the story went. You could kind of figure it out. That she's on the island, grows up, discovers, her strength, her powers. But then Chris Pine's character, Steve Trevor, the plane comes crashing down. She saves them. War, they take off. I mean, you kind of get the gist of that. So as far as what you didn't see in the trailers, and what I was kind of wondering going into the film, was about the Ares character and the whole kind of Greek god thing, because you didn't see a lot of him. You saw Dr. Poison, some hints there, but didn't really realize, and had the action figure not come out, you may not have even, the Build-A-Figure of Ares might not have even realized that was a part of the film from the trailers.
Yeah. And that action figure isn't what he looks like, though, in this one.
With the mask and all that. And I kind of felt like it was a nice twist they threw as far as who Ares really was. Although when it came to battling and you got this guy, kind of older guy with a mustache, I was like...
I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was...
his mustache kind of like... I was like, okay, this does not belong. I was waiting for him to change his form.
Transform into something.
Yeah, and then they showed him before, like a flashback of him, and then he has really long hair and a mustache, just turning up into the screen.
It's just the mustache thing now, I think. It just made it look like...
He looks evil, I guess,
yeah.
but...
Just it took away his threatening... He just seemed like an older guy with a mustache. I'm like, yeah, she could probably take it.
Yeah. And he looked not really like... He's the god of war.
Yeah.
And he looked kind of wimpy.
Yeah.
What have you been doing this whole time,
Yeah, so that was interesting. But I and here's something I want to talk about, because while we totally don't believe in or agree with, the whole Zeus created everything, the whole Greek mythology, which is why it is mythology. It's fiction, it's a myth, it's not real. And yet you can see where a lot of that mythology has drawn from truth of the Bible and the scriptures and some elements of God, but how they kind of mess it up in other areas. But you can kind of see a lot of biblical pictures in the characters, and yet it's obviously flawed because they humanize it. But I did find it kind of inspiring in some areas, particularly with Wonder Woman. She kind of knew what was right and didn't mind saying what was right and doing something about it. She was a very upright person in that, and I kind of felt somewhat challenged in that, right? Because sometimes we can, as a lot of the other characters did, kind of rationalize things and go, well, that's not really how it works. You can't just go in there and do this. You have to do all this and this and this, and sometimes we don't need to do that. Sometimes we just need to say, this is what's right, and here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do something about it, even if nobody else does. So I was inspired by that, and even when she kind of realized, okay, wow, maybe it's not just the overarching evil character of Ares, but it's actually the human condition. She was still willing to say, you know what, you said to Ares, and everything you're saying is right, but it's not really about that. It's about what was the word now? I'm totally forgetting. It's about truth.
About truth. No, what you believe in.
Yeah, what you believe in. And so she kind of had compassion anyway, and decided, they're not worth just throwing away just because we're flawed. So it was a lot of good biblical values and principles in there, I think, even though it was muddled with this Greek mythology. So for that, I like. But yeah, for some of the other things that they kind of muddled. But even the Ares thing, where you would assume, okay, wow, if you were to compare Ares, say, with the devil, you would say, well, yeah, that's what I would think the devil would be like, this bad German guy who's all powerful and just obviously evil all the time. But then how they kind of flipped it and made it this other guy who's really a little more crafty, a little more subtle behind the scenes that nobody would have assumed is this god of war. And so I thought that was pretty creative and a good way to sell it. And I think that's how the devil is. I don't think he's always just this big, obvious bad guy. I think he disguises himself as an angel of light. You wouldn't know that he was the bad guy. So I like that part of the story as well. What did you like about Wonder Woman?
Well, the acting was actually really good. I felt like.
Yeah.
It was pretty good special effects. I mean, yeah, it was decent. In some spots, it seemed a little bit sloppy. Like, there was a flashback scene with Chris Pine's character, Steve, whatever his last name is. And the background, I noticed, looked kind of just really animated, even though it was supposed to be like the ground and stuff. It just kind of looked like they were trying to make it look older, but like as if you were watching an old movie.
Well, and I kind of feel like in this film too, and something I don't always notice in movies, but how the color filters throughout the whole movie, they really use to manipulate the feeling. Just the overall sense, when they're in London or they're in battle, you get really kind of a almost colorless kind of vibe, as opposed to when they're on Paradise Island. It's just bright and rich, vibrant colors, and just kind of that stood out to me for some reason in this film more than other films.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Speaking of flashbacks, I didn't like. I think they kind of overused that vehicle to kind of fill in story gaps. It was like every time they did that, it was kind of a flashback thing. Like, first, well, to start off the film, Diana gets the photograph from Bruce Wayne of her and the guys back in the war. And so then the whole film is kind of her flashing back to her origin story. And then within her origin story, we have her mother, Hippolyta, flashing back to this Greek god's backstory of how things came to be. And then when after Chris Pine lands on the island, he has a flashback story explaining how he got to the island, everything that led up to that. And then at the end, when she's battling with Ares, there's a momentary flashback of her about what just happened with Steve, and he gave her the watch and all that stuff. So they kind of use that, maybe overuse that whole. We're going to fill in this gap by giving you a background story really quick or a flashback, and I think sometimes you can overuse that, and you just need to kind of just tell the story in sequence. But
I thought they did a good job with it, though. It kind of made sense that they did the whole thing as a flashback almost, because it kind of makes sense with the time that it is. It kind of explains where she is now, and what how she came to this.
Yeah, it's an origin story. The whole thing is really the Wonder Woman origin story. Yeah. And we're kind of bouncing around here, but just as thoughts come in, we're not really organized. We're just kind of off the cuff here. But I think some of the fighting scenes, there were some moments where I was like, wow, that looks really cool. Yeah. They did a lot of, when there was a big fighting move, always went to slow motion every time. Every move. Yeah. Which some of them looked very cool. And then some other fighting moments, there were some where I felt like it was a little cartoony. Almost reminded me of in Man of Steel, some of the Superman fights, where it wasn't slowed down. It was so fast. It just looked kind of video gamey, cartoony, and I didn't really like it as much. But there's some other moments where I was like, wow, she makes Black Widow look like a wimp. She's pretty powerful. It's a very cool move. So I think as far as that goes, and as far as if you're opposed to violence in movies, well, it has a lot of violence, but it's kind of pretty much bloodless violence. I don't think I saw any. Well, there are a couple little scrapes and things like that, but even bullet wounds. It wasn't like Hacksaw Ridge. I mean,
there was a guy with his leg off, but that was like for 5 seconds. I don't know. It was,
and that wasn't like it just happened. It was like he was laying off to the side. But anyway, if that's a concern for you as a parent or anybody, then. There's a lot of there's a high body count here, but it's bloodless.
Yeah, so. There's arrows going into people, but no blood.
Yeah,
there's bullets being shot, but you don't see where the bullet hits. Yeah. Like after it hits, in the first battle where the Germans come to the island and stuff.
Yeah.
And then shoot the one person. Piff. It goes in her, but then you don't it just makes a sound effect.
Yeah.
And then you don't see anything else.
Yeah, it's not gory.
It's not gory at all.
So as far as violence, there's that. As far as language, I think it was, as far as any profanity or anything, it was very minimal.
Compared to what is now's standard.
Yeah.
It was less than most. I mean, they said the S word once. I thought.
Okay.
At least that was there wasn't that much else except for maybe the Scottish character.
Yeah, he was kind of hard to understand sometimes. So
he was like.
As far as adult situations, that was kind of this mixed bag, because there were some scenes where Chris Pine is just getting out of a bath and she walks in, so they don't really show him, but he's obviously,
they showed him though, but
I mean, they didn't. It wasn't like full nudity or anything. I mean, they just. What are you talking about?
Well, not he covered up, but remember he's walking down and you see his whole body. He's just covering himself.
Right. But I mean, you
nether regions.
Yeah. What? Yes. Yes. But I mean, you don't see his nether regions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was unnecessary, and it insinuated that they he and Diana stayed together one night, and I just felt that was unnecessary. But it was kind of this mixed bag, because compared to a lot of the superheroes or superhero villain women nowadays, she was actually fairly modest throughout the film, except and it was kind of interesting that it seemed like they were trying to insinuate that for that time of World War II, that by those standards in that time, that she was inappropriate. He was trying to cover up when she was in town, because by comparison she didn't have anything on, it looked like, or he was trying to be a gentleman and not assume that he could, just lay down next to her when they were in the boat and stuff like that. So they kind of had that, but then they kind of threw that away too. And so, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of a mixed bag there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found myself questioning was, she seemed, having grown up on Themyscira her whole life, she seemed very knowledgeable about some things and very naive about other things.
Yeah.
It's like she was obviously well read and knows hundreds of languages, and yet didn't know what a watch was, or didn't know, just a lot of kind of basic things. So it was kind of, you wonder what their library consisted of.
Yeah.
There, because she knew about slavery, but she didn't know about, I don't know. It was just
people being in wars.
Yeah, or human nature, things. Yeah, so it was kind of.
I guess she was taught a different way, though.
Yeah,
maybe. Another thing that was kind of disappointing was Dr. Poison. I don't really know the origin of this character, but it's from she's from the comics, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I thought they could have done something really cool with her. Like the one coolest scene with her, and the one part that kind of was better was with her was when she throws the poison into the German guys. That part looked really cool because she did a cool move or whatever and throws it in there.
Yeah,
that looked cool. Why doesn't she do that more, to go against some of the good guys?
Well, it's interesting because I think I don't know what she's like in the comics, but I think that they actually utilized her character pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of
flashback, more action.
Backstories, I would like to know more about how she got that way. What happened to her that caused her to her face to have issues like that? Because that would have been interesting. Because they used her in a way that she wasn't like Joker, mindless, heartless necessarily, where she was just out for destruction. And yet, when it came time that Wonder Woman could have destroyed her, the mask was stripped away as Ares was trying to convince her, see, this is disgusting humanity, and this is the one responsible for all these deaths because she's the one who, even though I inspired her with the formula, she's the one who created the poison and the gases, destroy her. The Wonder Woman, even on that, which would be you would think of as the worst of humanity, perhaps, had compassion in that moment. And so I don't know. I think they utilized that character in the trailers. They made it look like she was the big bad guy. And she
that's
wasn't.
Kind of what I was going off of.
Yeah,
I'm iffy. All right, this one was better, in my opinion, than the past DC movies. I feel like they're getting better and better as we're going along.
Yeah.
Except I don't know about Suicide Squad. I can't really rate that one.
Yeah.
But
Justice League might be good though.
That's what I'm worried about. I really want it to be good. Because if Justice League doesn't end up good, then just leave me out of anything. Yeah. That is the big one for me.
Yeah.
If they don't get that one and make it really good.
And they could. Here's what I've noticed, I think, is one of the big differences between the Marvel films and the DC films, because it's not necessarily the storyline. Because I think this Wonder Woman storyline holds up to most of the Marvel storylines, the different characters, the Captain America stories and the Iron Man stories. I think it holds up. I think you've got a pretty epic villain, except for the mustache. You've got a good story with some interesting things there. But what is lacking, I think, is a sense of humor. I think that in the Marvel films, there are some actual lighthearted, laugh out loud kind of moments. And I think that for the most part, unless I'm forgetting things, the DC films don't always give you that. Yeah. And it may be because when we just saw this, there wasn't a lot of people in the theater, and so sometimes those moments show up when everybody's laughing in the theater. So that may be it. But
there's a couple things where we giggled.
My wife says a couple things where we giggled. But in the Marvel films, there's you're laughing.
It's a comedy action film.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
comedy, but
You don't get
it's-
moments like when Hulk is thrashing Loki around. You know, those little
Oh,
unexpected
yeah, the
things that
first
just make you die
Avengers.
laughing, you know. So that's, and I don't think you saw it in Batman versus Superman. I don't
No.
think you saw it in Man of Steel. It's all very serious with some little subtle, that was funny, or that was a cute little thing they did or whatever. But
Yeah.
for the most part, they could lighten it up a little bit. Instead
Yeah.
of trying to be so dark. Especially, you know, I mean, when you had the Dark Knight, Chris Nolan Batman things, that was all just dark, but it was like, you nailed it. I mean, if you're going to
Yeah.
do dark, do that, you know.
Yeah.
But if you're
This-
trying to keep pace with the Marvel stuff, I think you gotta lighten up.
Well, yeah, and these ones aren't really. It doesn't seem as supposedly supposed to be dark. It's supposed to be kind of lighthearted a little bit, but they're not really. They're trying to find a good middle, but they need more comedy in it, I feel like, and they have a really good chance to do that in the Justice League movie.
Yeah, you got the Flash. I think is kind of a funny
The Flash,
character.
yeah, Barry Allen is a younger character, kind of like Spider-Man in
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah.
And if they get him to be really good and not be dramatic like the TV show Barry Allen, like the Flash,
Yeah.
no,
They've got the potential with Justice League to do well. I mean, if you're going to compare it again with Marvel stuff, I mean, you've got Wonder Woman, who's kind of the female equivalent
Yeah.
of Thor, you know, kind of the godlike abilities. You've got Cyborg, who's kind of a Iron Man, for lack of a better comparison. You know, I don't know who you'd compare Flash to.
Flash would
Maybe like
kind of
Spider-Man,
be
I guess.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
the young rookie, I guess. But
Right.
yeah, I guess.
And then you've got Superman, who's may or may not make an appearance in Justice League. We'll have to see. He's dead technically. And then you've got
you
Batman.
saw
so-
the dirt in
Yeah.
Batman versus Super. It just like
It jiggled.
shakes.
Yeah.
Just shaking.
They may have been in California. It may have just been an earthquake. You don't know.
Yeah. Just a tiny earthquake.
Anyway, I'm sure there's lots of stuff that we're missing, and if we watch the Wonder Woman film again, we may have other comments or rethink things. But
Yeah.
So all in all, I'd say pretty good. Wife, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Give a yeah. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, be sure to slap that thumbs up and share it with your friends. Click our circular logo in the top left to subscribe to our channel. It's absolutely free. And there's a link to another video you might like in the bottom left. If you want to reach out to us, comment, or check out our info in the description below. And above all, remember, God loves you. It's the truth. And Jesus is the proof.
The Unbox Boys.